I'd like you to take a little look here before we start, because we have a little something that we're going to show you.
Across the sea, I keep you with me in my heart. You make it easier when life gets hard. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend.
I just look at that and I think that's wonderful, because we've all seen it. We've all seen little kids going around and they do the funny thing. You just notice the girl on the left, your left. She comes down and she's skipping and there's this funny little kick out. They can't resist but do it. And my title of my talk tonight is, when did we stop skipping? Because in fact, we all know, every single one of us in this room, we've done that. We've all done that. Now, I can't take credit for this idea, because in fact, this was born of a real conversation walking through a mall where a very good friend of mine said, look at those. And we watch these little individuals hopping along, and you can see them. We walk around the school now, and you'll see kids going from room to room, and they'll do a funny little kick or a little hop, and they're not even aware they're doing it. And we asked our question of, when did we actually stop doing it ourselves? Because you know in that moment, those kids skipping there, you know in that moment, they're totally happy. Everything's right, everything's content, and they're not worried about anything. So when did we stop skipping? That was the question. And neither of us could answer. We neither knew when we physically stopped doing this. So I started thinking about this and came to the conclusion that actually I haven't stopped skipping, because I skip pretty much every day right here. Now, you're probably relieved that I've stopped skipping physically, because if I went skipping to my classroom, I would lose great credibility with the kids and with the parents, and they'd want me locked out of here. So what is it that makes me skip? I know that when I go into my classroom and I shut my door, I skip because of the wonderful children that we are surrounded by here at JESS. They're amazing. They amaze me because I was never like that as a child. I was never that motivated. I was never that driven, or never that aware of how I need to behave or need to act to get somewhere. These kids know this, and I don't know how. I almost want to break open their minds and look in and think, how do you know this already? Because they are tremendous people to be around, and they make me really happy in here. They're funny. They're clever. They drive me crazy. Sometimes I want to rip my hair out or rip their heads off, metaphorically, of course, but because they wind you up, but it's just a pleasure to be around them. And so my skipping for me is just life in general. And then I make this giant leap because I was talking and invited into this event and thought, well, how does that work with my life? And actually, I think my skipping comes from positivity, having a positive outlook on life. And I'm the kind of person that I think that if I go down to the shops and there's a big, huge queue in the donut shop, and I'm at the back of the queue, but there's this one donut I've got my eye on, it's going to be there when I get there, because that's in my head. It's going to be there. Now, you might look at me and say, yes, Colette, you're 5 foot, and you really shouldn't have a donut, but it'll be there. However, there are people who will sit there and they'll say, no, it doesn't. I never win. I'm not going to get that donut. And I'm a science teacher. I understand there's no phenomenal where I can will these things to happen, but I do think that positive thought leads to positive actions and positive happenings. I really believe that. And yes, I mean, quite frankly, if I thought I could will these things to happen, I would have willed a win on the lottery many, many years ago, and I wouldn't be working these days. I think that also, I go backtrack. I'm going to steal a saying that Mrs. Tarbert, who's in the audience tonight, we went and did a talk the other day, and it said, Confucius says that, do a job you love and you never have to work a day in your life. Well, I'm not saying coming to JESS is not like coming to work for a day in your life. I'm not that foolish either. But I do think having a positive outlook and a love of life really leads to you being able to enjoy yourself. Unfortunately, life leads us some curveballs, and in 2009, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, I can assure you that you never, ever want to hear those words. You never want to hear them about your friends, you never want to hear them about your family, and you sure as enough don't want to hear about yourself. And I can always remember getting that phone call where the doctor confirmed, yep, you have cancer, and I sat there thinking, wow. But my first question to the doctor was, right, what do I do next? What do I do to fix this? Because you know what? I'm having too good a life to worry about or to give up on this. What do I do to make this right? That positivity, I think, has helped me. And in 4 years, I've had my ups and downs, and I'd be a liar, and half my colleagues are sitting there who would also know that I'd be a liar if I've said I haven't had my dark moments, and moments where I feel this disease tries to rob you of your personality, of who you really are. And it's not about the physical side. That was another issue. That got dealt with, but it's the mental side that it tries to take away from you. And I refused to let that happen. And there are days still where I feel sometimes it wins and I have a not such a great day. The side effects of the medication or the setbacks or whatever, you think, nah. And it hurts. But actually, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself down, and you get back up, because actually at the end of the day, life is worth living. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful I live in Dubai. I'm very grateful I'm at JESS, because actually living in Dubai and having excellent healthcare through JESS meant that not knowing I was even sick, it got discovered. So actually I can use the words lucky and cancer in the same sentence, because I was extremely lucky. I don't expect to come and give you any great gems of thought tonight. I'm not great with words of wisdom. But I would like to leave you with 2 questions. And the first one is, are you still skipping? The bottom line is that if you are still skipping, can you answer this question? Is your glass half full or half empty? Because my glass is half full. Cheers.